Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 30 of Talking Disney Magic, a show all about ranking and reviewing the biggest films in Disney and Pixar's catalog and talking about the biggest news in the House of Mouse, including Disney, Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, and so much more. My name is Adam Bankhurst, and I'm here alongside the wonderful Vanessa, and we are so excited this week to be ranking and reviewing the COVID film, the one that started it all. Pixar's Onward. Oh my God, Pixar's Onward. But before that, we got to check in with Vanessa. We got some big news in Disney Park, so let's slow things down for a second before we jump onwards and upwards and check in. Vanessa, what's up?
I'm just super excited about all the Disney news. It just feels like this has been such a great week. I'm still riding high on our Thunderbolts
Oh, I
extravaganza and
know
how
that really
awesome
was
that
good.
was.
Yeah,
It really was
Thunderbolts
so
really was
good.
good. I feel like it's gonna age well. I feel like on rewatches we may even like it more or something. The more I think about it and go back, and I'm like, they were doing something here.
Yeah, well, and as we'll get to in the news, our boy Bobby, he's really excited about this year, so we'll talk about that some more. But yeah, I just feel like we're getting into summer, the weather's nice. It just feels like it's all
Good
going to be
time.
okay. We got
Yeah.
lots of great things happening. You
Oh
got
yeah.
some cool stuff coming up. We're going to have some extra special episodes around some of that. I just feel like it's all good. One day
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun coming up. So we'd love you to be involved with this amazing community we're trying to build. So we want to remind everyone that Talking Disney Magic is a show that goes live every Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can check the show notes below for timestamps to jump to your favorite sections or right to the movie we're ranking and reviewing. You could also check our current schedule, our current rankings, and of all the films that we've done so far, an invite to our Discord, and anything else in the world of Talking Disney Magic. And also, if you want to be a part of the show, we'd love you to send an email to talkingdisneymagic@gmail.com. Once again, that's talkingdisneymagic@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear your reviews, your questions, your fun facts, your recipes of the movies we're ranking and reviewing. But like anything in the world of Disney, or even how your day's going. Like we'd love to talk about it, include you and kind of build this community and all this stuff. So it really would mean the world if you did that, as well as share this show with a friend, review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It all really helps us and that it really means the world. So we really want to encourage that because, like Vanessa was kind of teasing, we have some fun stuff coming up. So, in addition to doing an instant reaction and a full podcast of the Lilo and Stitch live action movie, next week we are going to be ranking and reviewing the original, which is exciting because that's a pretty beloved one, right, Vanessa?
It totally is. The music we've been
Oh, the
starting to
music is
listen to
so good.
Disney radio. And so the Hawaiian roller coaster ride came up yesterday, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great. This
It
is
is.
it. This
I mean, it's an all-timer. Those are
is so
all-timers.
good, so
Oh, by the way,
good."
I actually did want to mention this to you. I've been listening to a lot of Disney radio too with the kids and stuff, and they've been playing a lot of Wish songs. And I'm like, those songs are good. I'm enjoying. I feel like Wish has a lot of good stuff to offer. I wanted to mention that to you that it's been like going in the rotation, and I'm like, oh, I think fondly on that movie a little bit.
It was funny. I haven't had a lot of that come up, but I'm on Pandora. I might switch to a Apple an Apple
Yeah, that's the
Disney
one I've been
Radio.
using. It's like a Disney playlist.
I feel like I should switch to that because the one that I'm listening to on Pandora, it's like Disney Children's Radio, and they've started like inserting random pop music into it,
Oh,
like Shivers, like Ed Sheeran, like just like a bunch of like
oh, weird.
random, like
Interesting.
totally random music. And then he's like, what movie is this from? And I was like, it's not. Backstreet Boys was in there, which I was like, I appreciate
Yeah,
this,
can't be
but like
mad at that too
also it's
much.
not a Disney, it's not a Disney music.
And the algorithm. Oh gosh.
I know. It's like, yes, people that like Disney music also like Backstreet Boys, 100%, but that is not what's in this curated list.
Yes. But yeah, the one on Apple Music is good. I get a lot of the Descendants, those kind of movies and stuff,
Oh.
which I haven't seen yet, but some of the songs are actually kind of catchy, not gonna lie. But it's
I was talking with a friend recently, and she was saying that The Descendants is what she's really like her kids really into,
oh,
and she's like,
interesting.
it's actually really fun, and I was like, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
put
it's a
that
cool
up.
concept, like all the kids are the villains or something, or the heroes. I,
Mhm.
don't- I don't know the whole story, but yeah, some pretty good songs. But yeah, yeah, that's just kind of that's a little glimpse of the future of Talking Disney Magic. And also, I'm like so happy and proud to announce that I'm going to be covering Disneyland's 70th anniversary. So I'm going to the media preview event next
Yes.
week, which is why we're going to be recording some things earlier. So if we're not so timely on news, that's why. But we'll be doing an episode breaking down everything you need to know about Disneyland's 70th, the best food, experiences, shows. I'm just excited because there's this nighttime spectacular, Vanessa, called Wondrous Journeys, which they released for Disney's 100th anniversary a couple years ago. And I think it's my favorite nighttime spectacular Disney has ever done with the songs and
Wow,
like
high praise.
they literally include every single Disney and Pixar movie in some fashion or form, and they put like the projections on Main Street, so even some of them are even like on there and stuff, and there's like it's just such a special show, and so they're bringing that and a whole bunch of other stuff. So make sure to stay tuned for that.
You're gonna be wiped out because you're gonna be up super late and up really early and doing all the
I know
things,
this
you know,
May is just absolutely insane, but in the best ways.
in the best way possible.
Because yeah, I
So
also want to encourage everyone to check out our previous bonus episode because I got invited by Disney to go to Walt Disney Imagineering to check out the first ever Disney audio animatronic, and you can check out that as well as my full write-ups on IGN.com and all that stuff. So there's just a lot of fun stuff coming up. So make sure you stay tuned. It's gonna be pretty cool.
it's gonna be a great month. And we were talking, it's gonna be a full-on sprint because
Oh
we have
yeah,
the rest of this month with Disney on 70th, and we got Lilo and Stitch coming out. But then like June, we're doing a Toy Story Spectacular. So we're gonna be doing all the Toy Story movies because it is the 15-year anniversary of Toy Story 3. Whoa, that is
yeah.
like like
We don't like to talk about that.
no, it feels like a Bruno moment. Like we don't
Yes.
talk about Bruno, but like that movie, man, that trilogy,
Oh
like it's
yeah,
just a perfect, complete
yeah.
trilogy. So we're doing that, and Elio's coming out, and How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, like, what? It's gonna be unbelievable.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. But for now, the big news that we want to touch upon, because like I said, a lot of times when you do podcasting, the big news happens right after you record. But Vanessa and I got very lucky because we are recording on the morning of the announcement that Disney is going to be opening its seventh theme park in Abu Dhabi, which was, I mean, such a huge announcement. We're getting a new Disney theme park, Vanessa.
We were literally just talking about, I feel like we should like roll the tape about how Universal was eating
Oh
Disney's
yeah,
lunch
definitely.
and how like we had talked about like Disney hasn't done a new theme park and Universal's doing Epic Universe and they're doing the UK stuff. Like they're all over the map, right? Like and they're just blowing it out of the water and Disney's just like caught on their back foot. They're listening to us,
Yeah, I
Adam.
know. It's all because of
These things
us.
don't
We're
Yeah,
making real
these things
change.
don't take years to negotiate. They take weeks, and they heard us and they went, "Oh shoot, we better put our foot on the gas. Like we got to get this out, like before they start trashing us even more about how we're behind."
I know Bob Iger mentioned they've been talking about this since 2017, but we know the truth. It's because you listen to us. We get it, Bobby. We get
Yeah, Bobby, our boy Bobby, he knows.
it.
And we
Bobby,
were we
Bobby.
were praising you today. We were like, "Bobby is back."
Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. But yeah, it's super exciting news. And it's an interesting one. So the park is going to open on Abu Dhabi, and I think what I'm most excited for about this one is it's going to be the first like Disney park that's built right on the water. So it's built on this island called Yas Island, which is funny, and it's going to be developed with the help of a company called Miral. And they're Abu Dhabi's quote unquote leading creator of immersive destinations and experiences. And they've done like Ferrari World, Warner Brothers World, Abu Dhabi, SeaWorld, Yas Island, and like so many other things. So they obviously have a ton of experience. And so, like I said, what's interesting about this is Miral is going to be developing, building, and operating this park. So Disney doesn't technically have any ownership of this park, but it will be leading creative design and operational oversight to provide a world-class experience. So basically, they're not investing any like capital into this project, but they're still going to be like, obviously getting a ton of royalties because they're licensing out all their properties and their IPs, so they're going to make a ton of money. So it's a fascinating place, and I think one of the most interesting things about this park too is when you look at a world map of all the parks, like right now Disney has Disneyland, Walt Disney World, Tokyo Disney Resort, Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, and Shanghai Disney. So Abu Dhabi, this new Abu Dhabi park is literally going to fit like this perfect gap that Disney has in the world map in like the Middle East region. So now when you look at the map, there's like going to be like basically a Disney park not too far away from you wherever you live in the world.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an awesome. I mean, I'm really excited about this, and I thought it was really interesting that it drops this morning right after their earnings call yesterday. Like it feels like
That was this morning
oh,
though.
that
That
was
was
this
yeah.
the earnings was this morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
that's definitely why
that's
they
probably
timed it
where
to
it dropped was
the
on the yeah,
yeah.
I was like, okay, like it's on their earnings call, like they dropped
Yeah,
it right after.
that's why
Wow,
they
what a
timed
weird.
it to this for sure to get investors excited and to say, "Hey, look what we got coming, guys! It's exciting stuff."
Yeah, because that was the other thing is their earnings are just like
Yeah.
going on up because they got this part coming out. They had really great quarter in terms of their sales, and they have their profit outlook because the parks have been doing really well.
Yeah.
And so they've lifted their entire full year forecast up 16% from
Yeah.
FY24. So it's really going on up. Bobby's back, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's definitely a good time to be at Disney and also to be an investor at Disney because they're doing
Yeah.
so much stuff. And yeah, and a couple other, they didn't reveal too much more about this park, but the two things that I did want to note is that the UAE and like Abu Dhabi is basically 1/3 of the world's population lives within a 4-hour flight of this region. And it's also home to the largest global airline hub in the world that sees about 120 million passengers come through it every year. So I mean, like I said, it's prime location. It's going to be, I mean, it's going to be, I think, a huge thing. And while they didn't reveal like what's going to be part of the park or anything like that, they did release some concept art, and they're building the first ever modern Disney castle. And it's going to like, did you see the concept art out there, Vanessa? I'm not sure if you saw it, but
Yeah.
it looks like
Mhm.
a crystal or like glass tower basically, and it's obviously going to have some stunning architecture and really fun things like that. And alongside the concept art, they released a tagline, "A whole new world awaits." So, I mean, it obviously makes sense that Aladdin will probably be part of this park in some capacity, but that's really all we got for this park. But it's an exciting thing nonetheless.
Yeah, I think the quote from Bob on the earnings call was it will serve as, quote, an oasis of extraordinary Disney entertainment for millions and millions of people in this crossroads of the world, connecting travelers from the Middle East and Africa, India, Asia, Europe, and beyond. We're gonna go, obviously.
Obviously. I mean, by then we're going to be the number one podcast in the world, so it'll be perfect. It'll really work out.
World domination is upon us.
Yes, it is.
Well, also as part of the earnings, so we talked a little bit about how the earnings were really high, and they also had the streaming surprise where they added 1.4 million subscribers in the quarter, which beat their estimates of, or they compared it to the 1.25 subscriber loss that was expected. So that's a huge increase. And there was a lot of other things that were really positive. But what I thought was really interesting, what makes me excited, is that Bob is super excited about the film lineup. He says that it's the best lineup since 2019 when they had $6 billion grossing movies, which were the Avengers Endgame, Lion King, live action, Frozen 2, Captain Marvel, Toy Story 4, and Aladdin. And
Wild
so
stuff. Wild stuff.
wow, crazy. So he's like, he said that this is the strongest 18 months that he's seen since that 2019 year. And so he started listing out, he said, Lilo and Stitch, he's excited about. He said, he has personally seen the live action Lilo and Stitch, quote, a few times and can, quote, endorse it wholeheartedly. So that
I
was,
was joking with
I
Vanessa. I'm
mean,
like, it would be pretty funny if he was like, it's all right. It's okay. It's fine. Go see it if you can.
well, I said to Adam, if he didn't like it, he just wouldn't have said
Yeah,
anything at
right,
all. Like he
exactly.
would have just glossed over and been like, let's start
Oh
with
yeah, that
Elliot.
one, right.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's looking like it's headed for a 4-day domestic debut of 120 million, which is one of the best showings for Disney live actions.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of excitement around that one.
yeah. And so he singled out, and I guess in the earnings call, he literally listed every single movie. So he's just like pumped, right? Like, so just
It's
like
a good slate. It's a good lineup.
a good lineup. That's literally his quote, that's quite a lineup.
'Cause yeah, we have what, Avengers Doomsday, there's Mandalorian and Grogu, the first Star Wars movie since 2019. Toy Story 5 is coming up at some point.
And
There's
Moana
Moana live
live
action.
action next year.
Yeah.
But this year we have Elio in June, Fantastic Four First Steps, Tron Ares, Zootopia 2, and Avatar 3. We are going to be covering all of these. Not to mention, he didn't mention the Freakier Friday, so that kind of makes it a
Oh
little bit
yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
bummer. Like you mentioned all these other ones, and we're going to be covering all of these. Including for Tron Ares and Avatar 3, we're going to be doing the original parts of the series
Yeah.
before we kind of like we do with the
Get you
other.
all caught up.
Getcha. Yeah, exactly. we're thinking about when we're talking about Disney Magic, anything that has a theme park connection, we're really thinking
Yeah.
about how do we bring that in. So, the Tron ride and the Avatar world really make that connection
And
really
eventually
strong.
we'd love to do pirates and other things. And like I said, if there's a movie or something you want us to cover, send it in. Well, we'd love to kind of consider it and talk about that because that's kind of the fun of how we're building this out. It's really kind of trying to build the best list for the biggest Disney fans who love Disney parks and Disney and Pixar and all these things. So yeah, we're excited about
But yeah, so then he's just pumped. And I'm just excited Bob's back.
it. Yeah.
We're in our
Yes.
Bob era.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, it's a good time to be a Disney fan. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch upon?
Oh, he also mentioned the Thunderbolts. So we were talking about Thunderbolts earlier in this
Check out our instant
episode.
reaction right now.
And we have our instant reaction. Go listen to it. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend. I
Yeah,
think when I
very
looked at
good.
it on Rotten Tomatoes, really high ratings, like 92% positive. So Marvel is back, and that was the quote from Bob on the earnings call, which he said he touted as, quote, the first and best example of Marvel's much discussed refocused on quality over quantity, which is what we've been talking about, right? Like, let's get back to basics. Let's really focus on how do we get quality films? How do we tell quality stories that don't feel like they're just retreading old tropes and old things? And I think that this delivered on that in a way that we haven't seen in quite a while.
Right, 100%. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in the world of Disney. So and we'll be there right alongside it with it, which we're really excited about. But today we're done talking about the future, and I think it's time to jump back into the past, to the dark days of the COVID-19 pandemic, because
Early
Onward,
days.
yes, because Onward is a very, very special, and for a sad reason, movie in the world of Disney because
Over.
it's the one that basically kicked off the COVID era and the time where Disney or where Pixar basically stopped putting its movies into theaters, which is just it was such a wild thing to me when this whole thing was happening to think about the biggest animated movies in the world just are getting sent right to the streaming service, which was so wild. So you can obviously go and check because we've already done all the other Pixar films in the COVID era from Luca, Soul, Turning Red, and all that stuff. But this was the one that basically kicked it off because the movie released in on March 6th, 2020. And it was basically only in theaters for about 2 weeks. And then released on digital. It released digitally on March 20th. And then it was on Disney Plus by April 3rd. So like Vanessa, what's kind of your history? Like, what do you remember about this time when Onward was happening? Because it's just such a crazy thing of what happened in this story.
So I was 7 months pregnant with my oldest child. So it was my first baby.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I remember at my baby shower, because I had flown to Boston to do one of my baby showers. We were supposed to have another baby shower in Ohio, and that ended up being a virtual one. But I remember we were flying out, and I was telling everybody, I was like, I'm wearing my tinfoil hat on this. Like, we should stock up on food. Like, everybody needs to buckle down. They're going to close the schools. And everybody thought I was a lunatic, a lunatic. Like, literally, that I was insane. And I was like, I swear this is happening. And I'm not usually a doomsday prepper. That's my husband. That's not my style. But I was like, this is happening. And my baby shower was February 29th. And we flew back from Boston and everybody's wearing masks. And I was like, oh, here we go. Like, here we go. And the
Oh
movie came
gosh.
out. And I remember I was texting you because we were talking about going together
Oh
to go
yeah.
and see it because we always used to go to the movies together. And the timing didn't work out, and we were all kind of, like, oh, what are we gonna do? And then it was just like pure pandemonium,
Yeah.
everything got shut down, and we were like, all right, well, I guess we missed our opportunity.
I know it's crazy. It's so funny. I was like looking back at the art and like I actually wrote the articles in IGN about, Onward being released on demand and at Disney Plus. And like I remember sitting there like writing all this stuff and doing these things and just thinking, God, it's like things are like actually happening. This is like it's like really starting to feel like stuff is closing. I remember there was an article about like drive-in theaters were getting popular because people were still wanting to find a way to go see these movies in a safe way and stuff. But like when Disney is taking one of their biggest movies and like doing all this stuff, that's trouble because they wouldn't have done that if there was any other way that they could have made as much money as possible. So it really was a wild time.
Yeah, and I there was just so much uncertainty and it was just such a weird period and it was like the most you know, just being having our first baby and like it was so lonely, like what a
Yeah.
period. And like watching some of these movies like brought a lot of comfort,
Oh
like
yeah.
when there was like so much loneliness in the world. So that was really it just reminds me of such, the hardship of that period.
Yeah. It really, really does. But it's the movie still went forward, and like I said, it did pretty well. And then eventually it came back in 2024. I think they released all these COVID movies back in theaters, so it kind of got its time to shine. So I think it's kind of a time to like, what do you remember thinking of this the first time you saw this movie? Were you a fan of it? Did you love it? What's your history with the movie itself when you did get to see it?
So I thought it was really clever in a lot of ways. I thought they had like some high points and some like the emotional piece was definitely there. And I will say every time I see this movie, I do think about you because I know that
Yeah.
your dad passed away. And so I'm always like, or I think about my dad too, because my dad's dad, when he was young, passed away. He's been gone for a long time. And so it's always about like those relationships and how do you like find your path forward without these people and through grief and and it's so interesting like having like the different perspectives of like Barley who knew his dad and Ian who never knew his dad, right? And so there became this, well, you got to know him and I never did kind of difference in their relationship too. So
Yeah. Yeah, because this was a so my father passed away from bladder cancer and cancer back in 2018, and it still is the worst thing ever. And it just this movie came out in 2020, so like it wasn't fresh, even though it's like it always feels fresh, honestly. But I remember telling everybody like kind of joking like this movie's gonna break me. Like I'm like this movie is gonna break me. It's gonna be I was like kind of outwardly joking, coping mechanisms, blah blah blah, whatever you want to say it was. But there was also a part of me that was like really, really, really excited for this movie because the promise of your dad coming back for a day was like, I mean, it's a dream. It's like, it's literally like, I mean, obviously you want him back forever, but even be able to one more time give him a hug or tell him about your life or have him meet your kids or anything like that is literally, I mean, what would be better in this universe than that. And learning about the history of the film. So, Dan Scanlon was the director, and he directed Monsters University, which came out in 2013 or something. And and he was encouraged to develop personal stories at Pixar, which I think we saw a lot in this COVID area from yeah, like I
mhm.
said, from Elemental and Turning Red and all these other movies. There's like so much personal
Encanto.
story. Yeah, Encanto. Yeah, there's so many personal stories of these directors' history that has been put into these films. Luca too. Like that's what
Yeah.
I think I've loved so much about this era. Like, some of the films may have not reached the heights we wish they would, but some did. And even still, I love those are the best stories because they're real. They're like human stories.
Hmm.
So the concept of Onward was inspired by the death of Scanlon's father, who actually he died in a car accident when him and his brother were like very young, like just like Ian and Barley. So, it's kind of a very close, marriage of the story and what happened in real life. And he actually, so in the film, there's the cassette that he has of his father kind of talking in the background, and obviously when he talks to him and fills in the conversation, it's like, oh my God, it's so
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking.
Oh
Heartbreaking.
God. But he had a similar thing like that where he found a cassette of his father's voice, and it's mostly just background noise, but at the end, you hear a hi and a goodbye. And I think one of the best quotes I found kind of doing research on the movie is Scanlon said, in a weird way, I felt when he said hi, I can tell he's shy and nervous when he oversays the hi. And then I can tell he's a little awkward when he says goodbye. So like even that little thing kind of fills in a little bit of the gaps in the movie for like or for who his father was and what he was like. And I think that was such a special thing. And it sounds like a lot of the story he was trying to tell was how yeah his brother was there for him, everything. Another thing he said, he wants this film in the long term to be talk to that person who went above and beyond for you in the worst moments and say it now while you can, because you might not realize what's happening, but like that's the thing of it. So yeah, so this movie had a lot going into it and a lot of expectations for me. But this is a weird one, Vanessa, because I like hold nothing against like Dan Scanlon, obviously. And I think there's a lot to love about this movie. And I think there's a lot of incredibly emotional parts, especially the part that like is one of my favorite scenes, maybe in a Disney and Pixar movie, and it's so small, is that scene in the fast food restaurant where he's sitting
Yes.
there with his sweater, and then that
Hmm.
father comes up and is like, "Oh, you went to that college?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, it was my dad's." And he saw his name and he was like, "Wait, are you his son?" And he
Yeah.
like lights up, and the way Ian's like face lights up, and he tells him just a little story about he wore purple socks, and like when he went into a room that like people noticed, and that like
Like him, and yeah,
and
he's
how he said he
confident.
wished I had a little bit of that in me, and that he was a bold person, and like those little things. I mean, you could tell that Ian wanted to obviously talk to him forever and do those things and do that stuff, but obviously he had to take care of his kids, so he had to move on. So, but I had a very similar kind of experience like that at my dad's funeral. We had like a celebration of life for him at the Cleveland Brown Stadium, which was actually like that was his favorite team. You could have won a Super Bowl for them, Cleveland, but
Yeah.
that's a whole nother story.
It'll come, and when it does, it's for your dad.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. But a lot of people, I mean, my dad was a big like global developer. Like he lived in Montenegro and he lived all over the world, and he traveled and built incredible buildings. I mean, larger than life figure that like obviously inspired me, and we were best of friends and doing all that stuff. But like there was still, a lot you don't know about your parents in some of the
Yeah.
sense. So there were people that came from literally all over the world to this celebration of life. And like they were telling me these stories, and I had that like that it was literally that exact moment I had with these people, and I just like wanted to just stay with them forever. I'm like,
Bottle it up.
tell me stories forever and ever. And it was just it really hit so much about this. And then, like I said, there's parts throughout the movie that I really loved, and I think really, I mean, I think they did such a great job of capturing the grief and kind of dealing with that stuff. But the ending just I like get mad at the ending of this movie. And I love the concept of it. Like I love the idea that like Barley was his father in a sense, and that he was kind of the person that stepped up, and all of his checklists that he went through, that like he's the one who stepped up for him and was the person. Because it's true, that is, you go through life and you have these moments, and then it's the family and the people around you that get you through things. Like my brother Andrew was kind of that for me, and obviously my mom and other people, and Betsy, and everybody, and my kids and family. Like that is so true, and I love that part about the movie. But I wanted Ian to see his dad. Like I wanted that moment of them together. And then I just felt like that whole big battle at the end with the big dragon, and then he gets like trapped behind these rocks, and then he has to see it through like the hole and stuff. It just like, I don't know. It really, really upset me. And I think a lot of it is just my personal baggage putting it on that movie, because I'm just like, oh, I wanted him to see his dad. I know, but I know the message was like, your dad's not really there. It's more of just like a metaphor of it, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, this is a tough one for me, Vanessa.
I could see the thread they were pulling and like why they wanted to do it that way, and I think that it was probably reflective of Dave Scanlon's
Of
story,
course, which
right?
I love, and
He
like I said, nothing
Yeah,
against the
nothing
story, and
against his
yeah,
story, right?
not at
And I
all.
don't know, do you know he's was he the younger brother or the older brother?
I think he was a younger
Yeah.
brother. Yeah,
So then in this case, in his mind, he probably was like, my older brother has these memories. And that's kind of what this thread through this whole story is, that Ian was his dad died before he was even born.
yeah.
And Barley has these memories, and it's like three memories, and then you realize that it's four memories, and like oh,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
and so I think like it was very noble to want to give Ian, or to give Barley his goodbye, because he
yeah.
didn't get that. But I also can see it's like, yeah, you're right. Like you want him to be able to see his dad, at
Yeah.
least from a distance, and wave. Like even if there was like the hug, and then like they could see it and wave, like
Yeah, or
that would be
something.
even
Yeah.
a little bit better than like just the I barely even saw him at all, and that was a little bit, yeah, disappointing.
Yeah, because even like at the end when Barley gives him the hug and said, "Oh, we wanted to give you this," but before he said that, he was like, "He wanted me to tell you he's so proud of the person you've become." But it's like, how would he even know? Like, he wasn't. I mean, it's like he's that. I mean, you had like 2 seconds to talk to him and tell him, but he didn't even get to see him and stuff, which was frustrating. And it's interesting. So, I'm obviously I write for IGN, so I'm a big gamer and things like that. And there's this game called The Witcher 2. I know it's like kind of a pull, but walk with me. There was,
All right.
in a lot of video games, there's like the big boss fight at the end, or like because you have to have this like big final confrontation or this big moment or something where there's all this tension. But a lot of times it just feels unnecessary. It feels like they kind of just put it in there for the Hollywood blockbuster of it all. And there's this game called The Witcher 2 that kind of like really like changed and shocked my world because when you fight the final boss, you could have a conversation with him, and if you have made the right decisions and choose the right things, you can literally just bypass the whole boss section. And then it's like such a stronger and strong ending because it like they didn't throw in this weird boss fight with these weird mechanics you had to learn, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like maybe that you don't need to do this all the time. And it just that final battle just kind of felt like they needed some big epic action scene and this big dragon and these little things, and obviously the mom doing her like yoga moves and like jumping all that, and like I
I
said,
am a strong warrior.
like I said, while there were some fun moments and bits and context of everything, I'm just like, what I wouldn't have given for them to finally finish their quest and like get to have this moment with their dad sitting on the sun, like on the edge of the cliff talking or doing anything. And like I said, I know this is once again a lot of my personal baggage, and I don't want to like be a backseat quarterback or like Monday morning quarterback for all these things or whatever. But yeah, this one, it just like it just made it just I'm like, I think I wanted this for me more than anything, just to have something. But I guess it's kind of a message of life. It's like, well, I also want my dad back, but he's not here. And it's just like, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like I know that's what he was trying to say. And I think there's a lot of beauty in what happened. But yeah, for me personally, it's just like when I watch this, I love so much of this movie, and at the end, I'm just like, oh God, I wish he would have just been able to see his dad, which I think about every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one I felt like it was really a fun I thought it was a fun quest, and a message.
Yeah.
Like I thought the message was really good around like loving the people that you're
Oh,
with
yeah.
and like giving people like, we judge people or we think that people are not like, good enough or they embarrass us or whatever. And in reality, like, could we embrace them a little bit more and hold them a little bit tighter? And I think that that's kind of the message here too is like as you mentioned, like while you have time with people that you love, like even the messy parts or even the parts that can be like, oh, like that's a little bit cringy, like the things that
Yeah.
like make me cringe. Whereas I'm just like, oh, Marley, you're kind of hilarious and like larger than life.
Because yeah, it
I
is.
can
And
see how Ian would be extremely embarrassed.
of course, of course. I mean, especially when he rolls up to him with all his friends and
Guinevere.
like and Guinevere and Running, it's like, oh my God. But like, I think they built it well that like his father obviously was involved in that too. And like there's so much of that he probably like took from him and kind of continued on that legacy and stuff. So that's what I love about these movies. And I think the ones that really hit is when you kind of build on these reasons, like why are they embarrassed? Why are they these people like those ways? And I think this movie did a good job with that for sure. So yeah, that's that. And I think another thing that like I also just really loved about this movie is the whole concept that like magic was once a thing, and then they invented electricity, and then they're like, we don't really need to do this anymore. I think that was, I mean, such a brilliant concept, and like obviously having the unicorns as like little trash animals and doing stuff, and how like magic is kind of left because it makes sense in a sense because they even mention how magic is tough, but like if you could just flip on a switch, why should you be so like try to kill yourself trying to do all this magic? And I think it was
Kind of
such a
reminds me
fun.
of AI.
Yeah, oh yeah, right, definitely.
Like the parallels of like you could learn to be an expert or you could just
You
learn
just type it
AI,
into
which
Chat
is the
GPT. It's
expert
pretty
because it's way
easy.
easier.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's like it's so funny, but I think it just builds into the world so well because when he's playing the Quest of Yore, it's like this is a historically accurate game, which is kind of fun and cool. It's like all of this stuff is real, which is fun when you think of Dungeons and Dragons. But what if that was like actually the history of our world, which is fun? And obviously visiting the Manticore Tavern when it's like now this Chuck E. Cheese type place. It's just like I love the world that they built and how they set this up. I thought the framing of it was just wonderful.
And that could be a good place for us to jump into the recap because we can talk about all the moments that we loved about
Yeah,
this. And I
definitely.
think yeah, I'm totally with you. I think there were parts of it that just became an S, right? Like just like so many wonderful things. And then yeah, the ending I think left some to be desired. Um, Beautiful in its own right, but also
Yeah,
like
exactly. That's what I really want this message to be, especially like I mean, hey, I'd love if Dan was listening to our podcast. That would be pretty cool. Like I think the message and what you did and what the team on this movie did is such a beautiful thing, and I think a beautiful explanation of grief in so many of its aspects. It's just, sometimes that's just what people want, and we obviously bring so much of ourselves to these movies and to these emotions, and yeah, I mean, I want this unrealistic thing of I just want my dad back. So it's just, unfortunately, that's like, yeah, I know it's a hard truth, but sometimes you come to these movies to not have these hard truths. And I was like, oh, if only. But a lot of it I did love. But yeah, let's jump into the recap and see what's going on.
A narrator explains that the world was once full of magic, as we referenced, but over time people found it easier to rely on technology, and magic faded into legend. And we're introduced to this suburban fantasy world where mystical creatures, elves, centaurs, pixies, etc., unicorns, as trash
You name it. It's they're all there.
they all live modern, technologically supported lives.
So great.
So we're introduced to Ian Lightfoot, who lives with his older brother, who's this energetic and fantasy obsessed brother, Barley, and their supportive mom, Laurel.
By the way,
And
let's
it's
just talk about how like the combination of Tom Holland and Julia Louis Dreyfus and Chris Pratt is like such a good trio. Like what a good group of characters this movie had. And Octavia
yeah,
Spencer later with the Manticore and stuff. Like I
oh
really
yeah,
loved the cast of this film.
yeah, truly excellent. They were all and they all played off each other, and you could feel like their relationships, like they were able to show not tell and set a lot of the
Yes.
scenes around. They kind of set up this like Barley's this awkward this fan he's obsessed with this fantasy game, The Quest of Yore, and he has some run-ins with the law. Like he's kind of this fun and fancy free character. Like he just is he walks the beat of his own drummer for sure. And you could kind of tell how that makes Ian feel awkward, and like all of that being built into this. It just felt
Oh,
meeting the husband Colt, yeah, who's the centaur, and awkward in their house because he's got like this like really long booty butt, like, trying to
knocking
navigate.
everything down, doing all that stuff.
And then like they were saying like, oh, you used to run, like and he was like, why would I run when I have
Yeah.
a car? Like all the things you think about this, right? So
I love how I love how all this was happening while like Ian was just trying to get some breakfast for his birthday.
on his birthday,
He could
on
just
his
not
birthday.
no toast, no cereal, everything was getting knocked
Oh, and
down. This
their
poor
little
guy.
doggy dragon where they would like,
Oh
yeah,
yes.
I'm dragging down. It's
I
so
love the design of him. He was just like slithering through everything and flying all over the place. That was also great.
So cute. So yeah, so it's his birthday, and he's been struggling with feeling awkward and shy, wishing he could be more confident like his dad, who passed away before Ian was born. So this is kind of the period of time where he meets, we kind of referenced meets one of his dad's old friends and
Oh,
starts to hear these
the
stories
best.
about who he is and he's like, I want to be more like that, right? Which I think we all fall into this trap of comparison. Like, I want to be more like blah instead
Yeah,
of like being myself.
right.
But he's trying. He really wants to do right by his dad and be more like him.
Bold. Take over
Yeah,
the room, do that
bold,
stuff, and put on yeah.
confident. And he had and one of the things about Ian is he likes to make lists. He likes
Yes,
to make
yes.
these lists of all the things that he's gonna do or how he's gonna be better and how he wants to like tackle all these things. So Laurel, for Ian's birthday, gives Ian and Barley this magical staff and a spell from their father. And the staff has been spirited away up in the attic. And it was supposed to be a gift after they were both 16 years old. And so it's this magical staff and a spell from their father that can bring him back for one day. So Barley tries to complete the spell at first because this is his area of expertise
The expert,
with
of
his game
course.
and all the spells, and he totally fails. And then later that night, Ian tries the spell, and it works halfway. It brings back the dad up to the waist, and it's just his little legs, the bottom half,
Love how he has the
and
purple socks too. That was
the
like
purple
referenced
socks. So
from
it's really
the
him.
yeah,
They
referenced in the
zoom in
fast
on
food
that.
restaurant. Yep.
Yeah. And so they have a Phoenix gem to perform this spell because you need Phoenix gems to perform these very intricate spells, and it explodes in the process. So no more Phoenix gem, and their dad is only halfway back. This is what creates the quest part of the movie where they need to go on the quest to find the Phoenix gem so they can bring their dad back for the rest of the day. And you see Ian like set the timer on his watch. He's
Oh
like, we
yeah.
got 24 hours to
We
make
got to
this
make
happen.
this happen. How did you feel about the leg of it all? Did you think it was funny? Did you think it was kind of weird? Where were you on
It
the
was a
whole
little bit silly,
yeah.
like just seeing the legs move around. I was like, oh, that's kind of like a funky take. But like as the movie went on, you're like kind of like we're like, okay, like
Yeah.
I can get behind this. Like at first it was like, all right, like it's a
Yeah.
little weird.
It was nice how they did like the tapping of the foot thing to communicate and like when they gave
Yeah.
him a full like outfit to wear, like they had some funny things with it. But yeah, it definitely was yeah, it was a little silly. Like it said once he started carrying him around on a leash, it felt like it was their dog or something. It was like, oh my gosh, it was kind of silly.
Yeah, totally a silly concept. It kind of felt like you had to suspend, I mean, you have to suspend reality anyway in this to be like, oh yeah, you bring your dad back with
Right.
magic.
Right.
Kind of like wow,
Hey,
I
I
felt with
believe.
Luca where
Never say
I
never,
believe
right?
never say never. Cryogenic freezing or
Yeah.
whatever. It's a thing. Cloning.
That's why I'm working with Disney so much so I can find where Walt's like cryogenically frozen and figure this out. This is my master plan, Vanessa.
Oh yeah. Evil genius at work.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like with Luca where I was like, okay, they're sea monsters and they have to like they can come back and forth. Like I had to and they want this Vespa. Like I had to like suspend a little bit of disbelief around
Senor
like
Vespa, Senor Vespa. God, I
but
love
once you've
Luca.
like set that aside, it's like, okay, like I can get behind this. And
Yeah.
it was, yeah, a little bit weird. They put him on the leash like a dog. Like it was weird, but and they made it playful and like there's
Yeah.
a lot of games around
Right.
it, but
For sure.
so yeah, so Barley, this is his jam. This is like what he was born to do. He's like,
Definitely.
this is I know exactly what to do. It's based on quests of yore. We gotta go find the Phoenix gem and we gotta go to see the Manticore. And we have this whole path. We have to take this path of peril. We're gonna follow the game because the game is based on history, damn it.
I love it. It's just so brilliant. It's such a fun concept that like they're literally playing a game and following their history and doing this. It's so great. I love that so much.
And I guess they did do a lot with like Dungeons and Dragons people. Like they like invested a lot of time as part of
Oh
the
yeah.
story to understand how this all fits together because they would pull out the cards and they would talk about like we need to go do this with this and all the cards and they were like and the gelatinous cube keeps
Oh
coming.
yes, that's a big thing in D&D, so that's always funny.
So they must find the Manticore. That's where their quest begins. They must find the Manticore to get the map to the gem. And instead of this legendary warrior that they were expecting, they meet Corey.
And I love how they when they're driving up, it's all dark and ominous, and it's this big scary place. And you walk in, it's like Chuck E. Cheese.
Birthday parties going
Yes.
on, and you
Oh my
want to meet the
gosh.
Manticore, and it's just like the dress up character Manticore,
It's
and
so
it's like,
funny.
no, the real one. Oh, you mean Corey?
She's over there. She's carrying all the food.
And she's just like mad all the time and doing all these things. So, they Barley takes this moment to like urge her to remember that she's this mighty warrior and like like help us on this quest and she's like no. And Ian comes in and like tries to talk her into it and she spills this like oh it's going to the Raven's Point. She kind of blurts out that that's where it lies. And
Well,
then she has
that was found on the kids menu that they
on the
found
kids
after. Yeah,
menu.
so
That's right.
so originally she's like, "Oh, you're looking for the
Here's the
Phoenix
map.
gem." It's like that's literally on the kids menu. It's like a word puzzle that they had to do. Then they eventually find the map on the wall, and then Corey's helping the karaoke girls and doing all this stuff. And
Yeah,
then
there's all this like chaos here. And then, but yeah, Ian pushes enough that she totally has this meltdown. And she's like, I was this mighty warrior.
yeah,
Now I'm here. And she just
what does
loses
my life
her.
become?
Yeah. So she then burns the place to the ground. The map lights on fire. They think all is lost, but they find the children's menu that says the Ravens Point puzzle, and that's where they're going to go. There's a Ravens Point on their large map that they're going on, and so Ian's like, let's take the highway, and Barley's like, we must take this path of peril, to ride this thing, and Ian's like, no, like I don't want to do this, and so they decide they're going to follow Barley on this quest route and follow the path of peril after some initial back and forth and hesitation. So on a path B, which we're just going to talk about briefly, like Laurel discovers the boys are gone, and she teams up with Corey, who has regains her warrior spirit. She's ready for this to stop them from invoking the curse, because the gem
She
is
forgot to mention
protected
that
by this
part.
deadly curse. And that's what she forgot to mention to the boys. She's like, "Oh yeah,
That
the
part.
curse. Oh wait, what? I forgot to tell them about the curse. Oh no!" And they go on this side quest to get the sword from the pawn shop and like make it so that they can come and protect and help the team A do their job, right? And there's kind of like throughout the movie, they're kind of interspersed back and forth throughout the different quest paths. So Ian and Barley on their quest, they face various obstacles, including getting pulled over by Colt, well, they don't get pulled over by Colt. They pretend to be Colt when they get pulled over by some of Colt's colleagues. They do this, disguising spell and Ian becomes Colt to try to throw them off the scent. And they speed away and get into themselves into trouble. They get into this big fight with the Pixie biker gang. Um, After that fight, Ian is forced to learn to drive. The merge thing like gets me every time. Like,
That freeway's
you're never gonna
scary.
be ready.
Yeah, just go.
And they learn a lot of like magic spells along the way.
And I love how Barley is like, you got to use your heart's fire. Your heart's fire. It's like you got to put your feeling into it, buddy. I love the delivery of those lines and stuff. It
Yeah.
was great.
Oh yeah, there were so many good lines here of just like trying to learn how to do magic, and Ian's like, yeah, annoyed because Barley's like, you can do it, and it's just like he's such a ride or die, but
Yep.
also like annoying. Like I'm trying to learn, but it's hard, right? He's like, magic is not meant to be easy. So they have these bonding moments throughout this whole thing where they're dancing with their dad, and they have this run from the cops moment after they go over the drawbridge. And Colt is coming, and Barley loses Guinevere.
The
So
ultimate form of sacrifice. Oh my God. Epic music, slow motion, everything happening. Oh my
and all the
gosh.
parking tickets streaming out
Yes,
the window.
yes. That was so good. That was so great. And like, yeah, that's, we obviously got a little bit in this of, Ian Barley finding out how embarrassed Ian is of him. And there's this whole
Yes.
big, they explore that, I think, in a pretty good job. But yeah, that culmination of him sacrificing Guinevere was just so
Guinevere.
great.
Can we talk about Guinevere?
Oh yeah.
That band was
So great.
amazing.
They
With
actually
the unicorn.
they recreated it for D23 and other
Oh,
places. So I
really?
actually got to see it when I went to D23 last year, and I'm like, yeah, Guinevere. It's
Such a good, so good. Yeah, I loved the van with the
yeah, it was
unicorn on
great.
the side.
Really
So
great.
great. We also start to see Ian like putting together his list. We put his list together earlier in the movie, and now he's putting his list of all the things he never got to do with his dad that he really wants to. He wants to play catch, go for a walk, get some advice, learn to drive, all the things that he wants his dad to do and teach him. So we follow the Ravens point, which is not actually the point on the map, as Ian thought it was, but it is as Barley intended on the path of peril. You follow where the Ravens are pointing. So he was like vindicated, like I knew what I was talking about. We're following the Ravens. And so they follow these ravens down the path, and it forces them onto a river and through a perilous, like Indiana Jones-esque, like obstacle course with the whizzing
Gelatinous
arrows,
cube.
the gelatinous cube, the water filling up in the tower, having to push down the buttons, like this whole sequence.
A
It
lot
was
of
all
fun, like yeah, nods to D&D and just these types of movies. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. And it was always like the comment was like with magic you always use what you've got, and so to make the boat they like make a Cheeto
Yeah,
really
right.
big on
Yeah,
the water. That was funny.
it was.
Um, so they follow it and they get out of the water and they have to work together as a team. So there's like the road on this path of peril is littered with the bodies of all the people that have failed before them. And what you realize is that they needed to all be together because they had to like shield each other on both sides, and they had to like make the rundown to make it away from the gelatinous cube, and then they had to have the dad with no legs who could breathe underwater to be able to push the button to make it all work. Because otherwise, like they never would have made it out alive. They would have died with everyone else.
It's true.
And so they go through this entire journey, this entire quest, and it leads them back to where they started.
That's so great. They're like, what?
And
Where? What? We're back at the school? What is
we're
happening?
back at the school at the well, and this well or aquifer or whatever was teased at the beginning. We
Yeah.
kind of briefly touched on it with Barley's
He
running
like
with the
tied himself
wall.
to it. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
like
we must
the
save it.
hippies.
Yes.
He's like, this is an epic thing. Like, we can't get rid of this. This matters,
He was
right? This
right. He was right.
history. He was right.
Hashtag
But
Barley was right.
right. And you pop out and it's all these workers that are about to like literally destroy this thing, right? Which made me laugh. And so then they get back to the this water source, and Ian is just like furious. He's like, I listened to you and we wasted an entire day going back to where we started, and I'm gonna miss meeting my dad because I had to listen to you and you're an idiot, basically. And he's like, I'm gonna go spend the last remaining few precious minutes I have with dad. And he like walks away, and Barley, you can just tell, is distraught. He's like, I followed the path. What am
Yes.
I missing?
Oh my
You know?
gosh. It should
And
be here.
so
It should be here.
yeah, it should be here. And that was just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So he walks away, and Ian goes and sits on this cliff with his dad, and he's like starts going through his list. He starts crossing everything off. And there's this moment where they realize, like, oh yeah, Barley's kind of been in that role for me.
Everything I
All,
wished I could do with my dad,
everything I
I've
wish.
done with
Yeah,
Barley.
I've done with Barley. Yeah. And it was he like you see all these flashbacks of like he taught me how to drive with the merge. He gave me advice. He like helped me do all of these things. And he's just like, wow, I really did have a father figure in my life, and I just never appreciated that. He goes running back just as Barley realizes that the piece of the stone that they had gotten from earlier in the quest fits right in to get them the Phoenix gem. So they did the right thing all along. They followed the path. They got where they were supposed to go. And as he's lifting the Phoenix gem, you start to see everything break apart, and there's this big
That smoke coming out.
smoke comes out, and it creates this like heart's core, the heart's fire, and the dragon comes out as the mascot from the school.
Which was
And
funny, admittedly. Which
was
is
funny. Like, and the bell is like the scream of the dragon. Like, it was
yeah.
actually really pretty funny. And he's like, I'm protecting the gem, and now they have to have this battle. And that's when Laurel and Corey come flying back in. They rescued the
Love how
sword from
Laurel's
Laura's
flying on
up.
top of Corey. That was such a funny scene. It's just like, oh my God.
So great. And yeah, they Laurel has Curse Crusher with Corey, and they are ready to break this curse. And they picked it up from the pawn shop. They made it through their part of the quest. Ian says to Barley, take dad, like you deserve your moment to say your final goodbyes, and go. We'll do that, and we'll say the spell, and I'm gonna sacrifice my chance to meet my dad, and I'm gonna let you meet dad instead. And so they fight back and forth, and there's this whole big battle. And then Laurel's the one that ultimately ends up taking out the dragon, with this big sword. And it's like, I am a fearless warrior, basically. And then there's this, as Adam kind of mentioned, there's this chaos and all this rubble around them. And Ian can't really see, but he sees his dad finally makes it back. And Barley's standing there. And he like sees them through this little window. He sees them give each other a hug, and then like he
A little
disappears.
laugh I like too, like a little
Little laugh.
full body laugh he had.
Yep.
And
And
this
then
was
a
in
hug.
the oh
And that was it. Yeah,
yeah,
go
so
ahead.
yeah, this was obviously very special for Barley because I think we may have mentioned a little bit before, but the fourth memory that he didn't really talk about was when he couldn't go in to say goodbye to his dad because he was connected to all these tubes and didn't even look like him, he said. And yeah, I mean it's
There's a
true.
lot
It's
of
like
shame in that. Yeah.
yeah, not at all. And it's such a you blame yourself for that, but it's like he shouldn't have had to go through that at all. It's like horrible that like, he had to see that, and it's seeing a loved one like that is it's very tough, especially for someone that it was at Barley's age. So it was a beautiful thing that he did get this moment to really say goodbye and stuff. So I did like that part.
Yeah, I like that it was closing that gap and that they could have
Yeah.
their final goodbye because it felt like Barley was ashamed. And that was actually one of the moments I thought was really powerful too, where Barley was saying that he, felt like was too scared. He was too scared to see his dad like that. He was too scared to go in. And he said, and in that moment, after I realized that I never got my chance to say goodbye, I said I would never be scared again.
Mhm.
And that's what's like driven him to be who he is, where
Yeah.
he's just this brazen, fearless adventurer. Is because he never wants to be scared again. I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
It's a lot.
Um, Come back and they Barley and Ian kind of have this recap of Barley's experience with dad, and they give each other a hug, and that's kind of the end of that. And then the epilogue, if you will, is we end how we began. They open with the same line that magic, used to exist in the world, but now it's coming back, and you see it in the pixies that they fought with. The pixies now fly, where they never used to fly before. And you see that in Colt, where he's like embracing the magic and running instead of taking the car, and just a lot of the ways magic is coming back into the world. Ian fixes the school and all of that, and he's become much more confident in himself after all of this, and he continues to practice the magic. He's becoming a modern day wizard, and their family is kind of stronger than ever. They have this bond, and they love each other, and that's pretty much it. And everybody fades off into the sunset.
That's it. That is Onward. So yeah, that's
Um,
yeah, it was like I said, yeah, a lot of emotions and a lot of thoughts and a lot of things and a lot of bold choices and interesting choices and all kinds of stuff. And it made for a very, very interesting film that I think we have to rank now, Vanessa.
I know. Well, is there anything that I know we talked a little bit about, or how you felt about the ending and everything, but overall, yeah. So, like, let's get into the ranking and reviewing then. Was that you? Did you go first last time, or did I go first? I don't
I
remember.
think I did maybe,
Okay.
but yeah, but yeah, we can talk about that. But basically, here at Talking Disney Magic, we rank and review all the biggest films in Disney and Pixar's catalog, and we rank them on a tier list of S, A, B, C, and D. So as it stands, we have Lion King and leading the way at S, followed by Moana, Luca, Cinderella, and Snow White. In the A category, we have Bambi, a Goofy movie, Elemental, Strange World, Saludos Amigos, and Encanto. At B, we have Soul, Raya, Turning Red, Lightyear, Inside Out 2, and Fantasia. At C, we have Moana 2, Wish, Dumbo, Pinocchio, Snow White live action, Melody Time, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Mufasa, and Fun and Fancy Free. And our dear friends, the Three Caballeros, remain in they're all by themselves at D as the only ones there. So yeah, so that brings us to the point of ranking and reviewing or ranking Onward. So I think Vanessa, do you want to kick us off, or you think you might be feeling about
Yeah.
this film?
Yeah, so there's parts, and I feel like this is kind of like with Soul we talked about, right? Like there's parts that make it an S, right? Like that are just so emotionally charged, like
So
so
real, so
beautiful,
real.
so real. Yeah. Even though it's this fantasy film set in this
Yeah.
fantasy place and they're doing this fictitious and fantasy quest, right? Which I love a good quest. And Henry
Who
always
doesn't
talks
love a
about
good quest?
who doesn't love a good quest? I'm always like, Henry, you wanna go on a quest? And he's like,
Yes.
yes.
An adventure, an adventure.
We love a good adventure here at Talking Disney Magic. We really do. No matter what it is. And so I think there were just beautiful, like you said, the moment where they're talking about, his dad and with this old family friend, or some of the moments between Barley and Ian, and like the driving scene, like that just like to me was so real. Like you're never gonna be ready. Like
Merge. Yes.
and I loved how like Ian's character developed over the movie, where you see him just like be so shy and awkward and afraid to be vulnerable. Like that's really what it was. And I think that probably stems from like having experienced loss so early and like being so hyper focused on like losing something that you're not willing to try,
Yeah.
to
Right.
branch out, to put yourself in that position where you could lose it again. Um, but that's like part of the beauty of this whole story is like Ian realizes like he's got so much in his life that he can be grateful for, and he's had so much love and support even in places that he didn't expect it from. And so I think that the message of the story was beautiful. I felt like there were parts like we said, the ending was a little bit like hurt my heart.
Yeah.
And to have that moment too. And again, yeah, I felt like the quest felt like the boss at the end is a great example, right? Like it just felt like that. But the dragon was pretty cool, I'm
It
not
was
gonna
pretty
lie.
cool. It was pretty cool. Cool design. A lot of clever things in this movie for sure.
Yeah, very clever. And yeah, I thought the storylines were great. I thought it was really cool how they weaved in the mom to have her own storyline, and the Manticore and all these different characters, and showing their growth throughout Colt's growth. They all kind of made progress, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
All we asked for.
yeah, progress, not perfection, right?
Exactly.
So in all of that, I think I don't know that it is an A. Maybe it's like on the verge of an A, but it kind of feels like a high B for me. Like taking all that into consideration. That's kind of where I landed.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're very much aligned on a lot of this, and we've obviously heard a lot of our thoughts over the last hour and in the last few minutes by Vanessa's wonderful little talk right there. Yeah, I think there is so much to love about this movie and so much cleverness and so much heart put into it, which I come to movies for. Like you want to feel that these stories are real, that they mean something. Because even though it's wrapped in a fantasy setting, there's so much realness in this stuff, and I feel like they captured so many moments of this journey of grief that literally it lasts a lifetime. It never, I mean, people always say time heals and it gets better. It like never really gets better. Like it's
Your container gets
yeah,
bigger. Your
exactly.
grief stays the same. The
Exactly.
container in which it's held gets
Yeah.
bigger.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
More
Like, yeah.
space for it.
Yeah, it's like there'll never be a second where I don't miss my dad or wish he was back. Like that part never goes away. And I think that is really captured beautifully. And yeah, I have some issues with the end, but I appreciate what they were trying to do. So yeah, I think if I think we're kind of in the agreement here that I was debating between like low A, top B, but I think it feels like a good spot to be like the new leader of the B for me,
Yeah.
like right in front of Soul. Like I think
Yeah.
it was almost there. And like I said, a lot of this is personal bias. I get it, blah blah blah. But like I love so much of this movie, but there's things that I'm just like yeah, it gives me a reaction, which is it's a weird thing, but it just that it is what it is. But I still love it, and I rewatch it a lot for a lot of these other scenes that I think they do so well. I just man, if they would have nailed that ending, it could have been an S for me. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
if they would have done what I was hoping they were gonna do, this could have been like because another movie coming up in a little bit about this that did land the ending, a little trip down to Mexico. So it's
Yes.
yeah, so if they could have nailed that, because endings are kind of pretty big in my books and things. Like I said, I don't think I've said this a million times. I sound like a broken record now. I don't think it's bad, and I appreciate what they were trying to do. But yeah, for me, it just was there. So I think yeah, we might have a new leader in B, Vanessa.
I think so. I think that it's better than Soul in that I think Soul was trying too hard in certain places,
Yeah,
and it doesn't feel like there it was that. Here, like they put a lot in, but they left a lot of space too. So I
yeah,
think that made it didn't feel as much like they were trying so hard
right.
to make it something. So yeah, I think it's definitely ahead of Soul. So
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that is our new B category then. Onward, Soul, Raya and the Last Dragon, Turning Red, Lightyear, Inside Out 2, and Fantasia. And with that, our journey into Onward is done, and our journey in the COVID era of Pixar is also done. So
wow.
another big step. We're getting out of that.
Milestones, Adam.
I know last week we ended the 40s, which is a crazy time, and this now we're ending the COVID era. So yeah, we're going into a new phase of talking Disney magic.
We sure are. Starting with Lilo and Stitch.
Woohoo! So yeah, make sure you watch the original Lilo and Stitch, and please send in your reviews, your thoughts, your questions, your excitement or your fear of the Lilo and Stitch live action film or anything else in the world of Disney to talkingdisneymagic@gmail.com. Once again, talkingdisneymagic@gmail.com. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on the new theme park, the new movies coming up, what you're excited for. Send it all in, and alongside you sending those emails, be sure to check our show notes below for timestamps for our current rankings of all the films, an upcoming schedule, an invite to our Discord, and anything else you need to know in the world of talking Disney magic. But on that note, Vanessa, I think we must sail onward into the sunset because our time here is done. We only had 24 hours, and now the spell is leaving us.
Yeah, spells leaving. We are dissipating into the ether of the universe.
Yes. So on that note,
With
I want
Toad and his mania.
yes, always all comes back to Toad and his mania.
Always comes back
Exactly.
to Toad.
But yes, on that note, we want to thank everyone so much for listening. Vanessa, thank you for being wonderful as always. And we want to wish everyone a magical week, a great day and or night, and a magical week. And we will see you for Lilo and Stitch. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh,
Uh,
exhausted. Emotions
right?
are exhausting.
Yeah.
I've been
Um,
wanting to talk about this movie probably since 2020 this way. Oh my God, that was very cathartic.
yeah. Uh, it's an emotional one. I was crying quite a bit,
Yeah,
but they had some real S moments.
they did. They really did. Yeah, it's just like it's like I literally like start fuming at the ending. It's like I've never had this like reaction to a film. Like I've been upset about endings or wish they did stuff, but I just get like so mad. It's like I feel bad. I'm like it's not your I feel bad, but it is what it
But, we're pissed off on your behalf, Ian. You gave up. You are the magician. You gave up your chance
is.
to
Yes.
have a moment with someone that you wanted to know.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I gotta jump to a meeting
All
and
right.
because that's my
So
life.
I will potentially see you Saturday night and then
Yeah.
let me know if Sunday's better. It's totally fine. We can switch it.
Either one is totally fine. So
Okay, yeah.
let's plan on it.
Yeah, and I'll do the recap and all that good stuff. So,
Sounds good.
all right.
All right.
Have a
I will
wonderful day.
talk to you soon.
Bye.